Snowdonia is famous for many things: the scenery, castles, and of course, railways. In this video, we'll be travelling around this part of Wales from Carnarvon to the Great Orme. Carnarvon was founded in 79 AD as Segontium by the Romans, housing 1,000 soldiers. It was also the MP seat for David Lloyd George, the UK's only Welsh Prime Minister. In 1283, work started on the famous castle, one of a series by Edward I. Attacked whilst under construction in 1294, the first Prince of Wales was born here in 1301. The town's harbour trust was founded in 1793, moving into this building in 1866, which had meeting rooms and an external weighing machine. The Carnarvonshire Railway arrived from Menai Bridge in 1852. Later extending to Afan Wen in 1862, a tunnel was bored through the town, whilst the branch to Llanberis opened in 1864. Passed to the LNWR in 1871, the Afan Wen and Llanberis lines closed in 1964. Carnarvon Station closed in 1970, although it was used as a temporary terminus until 1972, whilst the Britannia Bridge was being rebuilt. Our first heritage railway is the Welsh Highland, formed in 1922 after a merger between the North Wales Narrow Gauge of 1877 and the Porthmadog, Bedgellet and South Snowdon of 1901. Running from Dinas to Porthmadog, it was taken over by Colonel Stevens in 1927. Unfortunately, the railway went bankrupt in 1933, closing in 1936. A preservation society was formed in 1964, but this led to a dispute between the Welsh Highland and the Ffestiniog. Opened in stages from 1997 to 2011, the section to Carnarvon is on the trackbed of the former Afan Wen route. The Welsh Highlands station is a short distance from the castle, and the building on the left is the former De Winton Union Foundry. At the time of filming, a new station building was being erected, which was completed in 2018. Our locomotive is NGG16 number 138, one of 7 supplied by Bay Peacock to the South African Railways in 1958. This was Bay Peacock's last steam order, with number 138 working on the Port Shepstone branch. Moved to Alfred County in 1987, she came to the Welsh Highland in 1994. Leaving Carnarvon, the line follows the Nansell Railway of 1862. Running to Penny Groves, it was taken over by the Carnarvonshire in 1867. The trackbed was converted into a cycle path in the 1970s. Between Carnarvon and Dinas is the small halt at Bont Newid, which was opened following a request by local residents. Dinas is where the original Welsh Highland met the LNWR to Afan Wen and once had a slate wharf. Closed in 1951, the site later became a highways depot. The old North Wales Narrow Gauge building still survives, winning an Ian Allen National Heritage Railway Award in 2000. Dinas also houses the Welsh Highlands locomotive and carriage sheds. Beyond the station, the Afan Wen line is now a footpath, whilst the Welsh Highland curves off to the left. Tryfan Junction was the connection for the 3-mile Bryn Gwyn branch via Ross Tryfan. Bringing slate from Moyel Tryfan, the station building was restored by the railway's Heritage Group. Warnfer once had a station building similar to Tryfan Junction's, but has since been demolished. From here was another branch to a quarry at Dudley Park, now a nature reserve. After Warnfer is the small halt at Plassy Nant, serving a nearby country house hotel. Now the railway skirts around the bottom of Mount Snowdon. At 1,085 feet, it is the highest mountain in Wales. In 1896, an 800mm railway opened to convey passengers to the summit. Using a rack system, the locomotives came from the Swiss Locomotive and Machine Works in Winterthur. Snowdon Ranger was the North Wales narrow gauge's terminus from 1878 to 81. There was once a hotel here, now a youth hostel, and passengers could alight for an 8-mile walk to Snowdon summit. The present station at Rydw is on a new alignment. The platform here was later extended, and like Tryfan Junction and Warnfer, Rydw once served a quarry at Fryd Isaf, closed in 1881. In its heyday, horse-drawn carriages took passengers to Bedgellet, Aberglasine and Glyn Gwynant. Until 1893, the station was named Snowdon, which led to the construction of the Snowdon Mountain Railway to try and entice passengers to Llanberis. Next is another small halt at Melion, serving the largest campsite in Snowdonia. Bedgellet takes its name from a story about a deceased dog, written by David Pritchard, the then owner of the nearby Gorick Hotel in 1793. In its heyday, the station had a goods shed, lamp hut, water tower and even a bookstall. Most trains cross at Bedgellet, and coming from Porthmadog is NGG 16 number 143, built in the same batch as number 138. Climbing through the Aberglasine Pass, the railway heads through 3 tunnels. Measuring 110, 80 and 1,060 feet long, they were bored so that the railway wouldn't spoil the view. Nansmore Halt opened in 2010. The land around this point was acquired by the National Trust from the Snowdon Mountain Railway in 1935. This is Croesall Junction, where the Welsh Highland met the Croesall Tramway. This privately owned 2-foot gauge 7-mile tramway ran from Porthmadog to the Conwy Valley and opened in 1863. No locomotives were ever recorded working on it, with the lower section being sold to the Welsh Highland in 1923. The line's penultimate station is Point Croesall. Opened in 2010, it serves an RSPB Osprey viewing area. After Point Croesall, we pass the Welsh Highland Heritage Railway. In 1961, the Welsh Highlands Railway Society was formed, setting up a base at Bedgellet Sidings in the 70s. The land had been purchased from BR and today includes 3/4 of a mile of running line. The two Welsh Highlands meet at Pennymont. This was where Bedgellet Sidings was located alongside a wharf for the Croeshaw Tramway from 1867 to 72. The station building is based on Nantmoors. At Gallert's farm, a museum has been established to display some of the railway's collection. Carron was outshopped by Peckett in 1942 for the Saluk Peat Light Railway in Rhodesia. Hauling chrome ore up 1 in 45 gradients, she came to Wales in 1976, first steaming in 1983. Erie is a 350 horsepower diesel hydraulic known as a Lid 2. Built in Bucharest in 1977, she worked for the Polish State Railway and later the Jarocin, also in Poland. She came to the railway in 1993. A unique survivor from the North Wales narrow gauge days is this bogie saloon, number 9. But the line's flagship is Russell, outshopped for the same railway by Hunslet in 1906. Stalled at Dinas after closure until 1941, she worked at the Brimbo Steel Company near Wrexham, Hook Norton in Oxfordshire, and the Fursbrook Railway near Corfe Castle. Acquired by the Birmingham Railway Club in 1955, Russell was first displayed at the Narrow Gauge Railway Museum at Towyn on the Tally Clyn. Entering Porthmadog, the Welsh Highland crosses Snowdon Street and High Street. The original formation, however, ran down Maddox Street with a branch to Goistadoo Wharf. Our third heritage railway is the Ffestiniog. Formed in 1833, it is the oldest railway company in the world, opening in 1836. Starting with horses and gravity, steam power arrived in 1863 in the form of George England 040 tank and tenders. The Ffestiniog was also the first narrow gauge railway in the UK to carry passengers and use bogie coaches from 1872. Sold to Aluminium Corporation in 1921 and merging with the Welsh Highland in 1923, passenger services ended in 1939. Slate trains, however, continued to run until 1946. Preservation of the line started in 1954, backed by Alan Pegler, who acquired the rights to the company. Official reopening took place on the 23rd of July 1955. Reopened in stages, a 2.5 mile deviation had to be constructed at Dunault before the Ffestiniog finally returned to Blaenau in 1982. Porthmadog takes its name from William Maddox, the name literally meaning Maddox Port, the idea being to ship slate from Blaenau. This had a dramatic effect, with the population rising from 885 in 1821 to 3,000 by 1861. In 1821, the port was enlarged and extended, whilst a man-made island was created using ballast dumped from ships. Shipbuilding also occurred here from 1824 to 1913. The Ffestiniog's station opened in 1865, but in 1879 the station building and goods shed swapped places. The middle building was erected in the 70s, whilst the goods shed now houses the Spooner Bar. Just beyond the station is a 1,660 yard long embankment known as the Cobb. Built between 1808 and 1811 to reclaim the Glaslyn estuary, a roadway was added in 1836. Porthmadog's main line station opened in 1867 on the Aberystwyth and Welsh Coast line to Porthwelly. Taken over by the Cambrian, trains from Euston ran until 1964, when the Afan Wen line closed. Hauling us to Blaenau is Myrddin Emrys, one of the Ffestiniog's famous double fairlies. Designed by George Spooner and named after a Welsh poet, she was the first locomotive to be built by the railway in 1879 at its Boston Lodge works. She returned to steam in 1961. Designed by Robert Fairley, the idea was to have two locomotives mounted on a common chassis. This was done by mounting two boilers back to back, sharing a central firebox. The engine's power came from two swivelling bogies with flexible steam pipes. The first double fairlies worked on the Simmering Incline Railway in Austria in 1852. The Ffestiniog took an interest as they were more powerful than the George Englands and were able to haul longer trains but with only one crew. The design was also exported to North America, New Zealand, Russia and Burma. On the other side of the cob are the main shed and workshops at Boston Lodge. The name comes from William Maddock, who was the MP for Boston in Lincolnshire. The first station is Minford, the line's terminus in 1956, which houses a hostel for volunteers. Here, the Ffestiniog crosses over the Cambrian line to Pwllheli. The mainline station opened in 1872 and led a nomadic life, apart from a visit by the Queen in 1963 on her way to Tannygristle Power Station. Unstaffed since 1964, the platform has since been shortened. Between the two stations is the exchange yard, with the Ffestiniog running in on a loop to utilise gravity working. Penryn's station building incorporates parts of Porthmadog's first of 1864. Reopened in 1957, it was restored in 1992. Goch was a horse interchange point. A loop and box have been here since 1975, although they were temporarily out of use from 1989 to 95. Plas Holt opened in 1963 to serve the Snowdonia National Park Study Centre. Tannybulk opened in 1873 to replace a previous station at Hafody Clun. The station shelter was replaced by a cottage and was the line's terminus in 1958. Tannybulk was the home of Bessie Jones, who married one of the railway's permanent way gangers. She became well known, serving refreshments in Welsh costume in the Ffestiniog's heyday, resuming the role after reopening until 1968. After Tannybulk is the short 60-yard long Ger Ned Tunnel. The next station is the Naught, 9.5 miles from Porthmadog. Beyond here, the original trackbed had been flooded by a reservoir, so in 1965 work started on building a spiral deviation, unique to Britain. This also involved boring a tunnel, which took 9 months, and the project was completed in 1978. From above, on the new alignment, we see the original trackbed on a stone embankment, heading for Moyel Wind Tunnel. Gristle is on the edge of Ffestiniog. It was a quarryman's village, with the station being demolished shortly after closure. A new station opened in 1978, but the final section to Blaenau would take another 4 years. Will is where the Ffestiniog headed for its terminus at Dinas. This area served 3 quarries and once had an engine shed. A timber yard was also based here during World War II. Ffestiniog once had 3 stations: the Ffestiniogs, north on the LNWR and central on the Great Western. With the arrival of the Ffestiniog, BR realigned the track, opening a joint station on the 25th of May 1982. Doves was the Ffestiniog's goods station throughout the whole of the line's heyday. The passenger station here was open from 1866 to 1931, this being the second building from 1875, although it was temporarily closed from 1923 to 25. Ffestiniog once had 7 slate quarries surrounding it. 3 notable quarries are Oakley on the Dinas branch, Llanecwed with its unusual overhead wire system, and Main Offeren, the last to close in 1976. The first railway in the town was the Bala and Ffestiniog, backed by the GWR. Approval was granted in 1873, with the BNF reaching the town in 1883. In 1961, a connection was made with the Conwy Valley line as a means of accessing the power station at Trawsfynydd. The Conwy Valley line was opened by the Conwy and Llanthryst in 1863 and backed by the LNWR. However, due to the long tunnel at Blaenau, the railway didn't reach the town properly until 1881. The next 3 stations after Blaenau are Roman Bridge, Dolwyddelan and Pontypant. Between Pontypant and Betws y Coed is Llaneda Viaduct. Also known as Catherine's Bridge, the structure is in a rocky style to match its surroundings. Following the Act of Union between the UK and Ireland, Betws y Coed became a coaching stop on the road to Holyhead. The majority of this is now the A5 and once carried mail to and from Ireland. On the road is Waterloo Bridge over the River Conwy, designed by Thomas Telford in 1815. Battersea Coed Station once had two platforms and a camping coach from 1955 to 59. In 1960, this was replaced by an ex-South Eastern and Chatham Pullman, which is now part of the Railway Museum. Established in the 70s, the Conwy Valley Railway Museum is housed in the former goods yard, and inside is a fine collection of layouts.
Well, that's a busy one. The wagon's gone out.
There is also a 15-inch gauge model of Britannia, scaled down from the full-size drawings, and a 1 mile 7 1/4 inch gauge railway, on this day worked by 242 tank Gorick. Next is Llantrist, which had a new station opened in 1989, closer to the town centre. This replaced the 1868 station of the Conwy and Llantrist, resited from the 1863 terminus. Later extended, it is now an unstaffed halt. The next two stations are Gorick and Tallycaffin. Conwy, which shared its station master with Tallycaffin from 1959, once had a single siding and camping coach from 1954 to 64 when it closed. The station reopened in 1970. Llandudno Junction on the North Wales coastline was opened in 1858 by the St George Harbour and Railway Company. Becoming a junction with the opening of the Conwy Valley line in 1863, the present station opened in 1897. In its heyday, Llandudno Junction had 8 platforms, 4 through and 4 bays. A depot, coded 7A and later 6G from 1952, was located here, closing in 1966, whilst the track was remodelled in 1968. This saw 3 platforms removed, but a freight terminal did open in 1983, although this is no longer in use. A further remodelling occurred in 1985, when a new power box was installed. The only intermediate station on the Llandudno branch is Conwy, opened in 1866 with wharfs to ship slate from Blaenau. Many of the station's features remain, whilst the wharf is now a marina. The present Llandudno station dates from 1892 and once handled throngs of holidaymakers. Sadly, this traffic declined, and in 1978 platforms 4 and 5 were removed, whilst the overall roof was cut back in the 1990s. The last part of our journey is on the Great Orme Tramway. The tramway is worked in two sections, the lower one opening in 1902 and the upper section in 1903, with Victoria Station following in 1904. Both sections are single track with a loop halfway. The trams are controlled by cables between the rails, as the gradients are as steep as 1 in 3 on the lower section and 1 in 10 on the upper. A winding house is situated halfway up, being steamworked until 1957. At one time, the tramway carried goods, parcels and even coffins for St Judenos Church. Taken over by the Great Orme Railway Company Limited in 1932 after an accident, and the Llandudno Urban District Council in 1949, the line received a £4 million refurbishment between 1999 and 2002. From 1907 to 1956, a second tramway was located in the town, the Llandudno and Conwy Valley Electric Railway. It ran from Llandudno to Ross-on-Sea upon opening, reaching Conwy Valley in 1908. The Great Orme is estimated to be around 350 million years old, with human activity dating back to the Stone Age. The Orme is home to a wide variety of flora and fauna, managed by a tenant and rangers from the National Trust. The summit complex was part of a telegraph system linking Holyhead with Liverpool. Later converted into a golf clubhouse and radar station during World War II, it is now a hotel. So that was a trip around Snowdonia. Hope you've all enjoyed the video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment and feel free to follow me on Instagram. Link down below in the description. Take care everyone, and I'll see you all on the next day out. Bye.